As a member of the board of directors of the National Conference of Black Lawyers, I have the honor of offering this professional tribute to our sister and her life and legacy, Gilda Sherrod-Ali. I just ask for just a moment. We have members of this organization who loved Gilda, some of whom visited earlier and had to leave, but others of whom are with us. If members, all present and former members of the National Conference of Black Lawyers, for just a moment could stand so that we can see the people who have been influenced by. Thank you. Thank you. You may be seated. Now, our organization's ethos can be summed up in certain words from our foundational documents. And these are just a few words that I have a feeling attracted your sister, auntie, mother, grandmother, colleague to our ranks. And for this particular service, these particular words from the National Conference of Black Lawyers' Declaration of Commitment and Concern are relevant. And we state, to the extent that the Black Revolution called for an attack on institutional and structural racism in this country, combating the crisis of maladministration of justice, and enlisting the total Black community in this effort for its mutual survival and uplift, we must make it. So obviously, not too long after Gilda was licensed, she made a beeline to the National Conference of Black Lawyers not too long after that. And so she stepped right up, right into the fight, the good fight, and she served. Eventually, she was elected to and affirmed in her tenure as a convener or co-convener of the Washington, D.C. chapter of this National Conference of Black Lawyers, our chosen leader. Meanwhile, as one of the most effective criminal defense attorneys in a legal career that spanned roughly 40 years, she served our, yes, it is not easy. She served our community and this country with excellence and conviction. Later on in 2018, when I became co-convener of our chapter with Deirdre McCarron, who was at the visitation, and Attorney McCarron had practiced for 15 years in the criminal law with Gilda, I benefited very much from Gilda's wisdom, especially certain administrative practices she had implemented in further of our critical mission. I have only to quote from our member and her friend, Thomas Ruffin, who has written since her passing as follows: I love Gilda as a friend and then too as an accomplished lawyer. Without deceit and always serious, Gilda confronted us regarding troubling issues. She represented political prisoners held captive in the United States. She contributed mightily to the legal research and thinking for reparations for African Americans. She struggled with integrity against corruption and greed on behalf of Black farmers. She fiercely protected her clients. She loved her family. She bonded with comrades. Gilda's first love, indeed her inspiration and purpose, proved always to be her daughter Zinzi. This is according to Brother Ruffin. Gilda put in work to ensure that Black people rose as a nation. And I thank Thomas Ruffin for those words. Those words were echoed by none other than a leading jurist in this city. Cheryl M. Long, senior judge of the D.C. Superior Court, has written also after the passing of Gilda, quote, at the District of Columbia Superior Court over the years, it was always a pleasure to have her in my courtroom. She was thorough and effective in all of her work. Respected by our bench and the community, she will be missed. That was Superior Judge, senior jurist Cheryl M. Long. Gilda became a standout advocate in a highly competitive and challenging legal environment. You all know from the obituary, prior to entering the profession, she had served as an educator for 5 years. She, perhaps more than all but a handful of other lawyers, therefore could articulate methods of persuasion in an added dimension that of a teacher. As I encountered her, Gilda personified the actuality that to advocate and to win in court is fundamentally to educate, to school, as some of us might say, with the right touch. The client, the opposing counsel, the judge, and the jury. And God gave her to this world at just the right moment. Contemplate the unique positioning of one lawyer who is all of the following: an African American, a woman, a teacher, a mother, and vintage 1950. With all the barriers, burdens, and traps set before her and her people over those particular decades, from Jim Crow segregation and Jane Crow bias, all the way into the present. Consider how Gilda had to have labored to prepare herself and empower her community the way that she did. It had to have been harder than I could ever know. And yet Gilda delivered with sophistication, charm, and impact. My National Conference of Black Lawyers predecessor, Gilda, was, in a word, a legal Wonder Woman. And we thank this family for sharing her with us for the many decades over which she graced this demanding profession. May God bless you, and may God bless her memory.